Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next in our series of what to look for in the night sky. We're all the way up to February 13th is the week we're talking about this time around. We got a lot of stuff to cover. I don't know if any of it's interesting, but we got stuff to cover, so let's get right to it. Let's start with the last couple of weeks we've watched as the sun has set. It's evening, and you're looking west, and you've been watching Venus climb higher in the sky. Biggest, brightest object out there to the west. After sunset, you've got Venus approaching Jupiter, the next brightest object it's coming to up there. And so it's going to continue that this week, slowing down a little bit, but it's going to continue that this week. And as it does so, it's going to zip right past Neptune. So where I am, in the middle part of the United States, on the evening of the 14th and the evening of the 15th, this is going to be great drama. It's going to be great stuff to watch. So on the evening of the 14th, Venus will be just below Neptune, half a degree. So Venus, after sunset for me, in the middle of the United States, it's going to be half a degree west and below. It's going to look like below Neptune. By the next night on the 15th, just after sunset, it's going to be half a degree above Neptune. So it will have passed Neptune. It will have moved about 1 degree relative to Neptune. What that means is if you live east of me someplace, in the eastern part of the United States or over in Western Europe, you're in great shape to be able to watch Venus get really close to Neptune as it slides by. It's going to be daytime when that happens for me, but I'm still going to get a chance to see it pretty close, and a pair of binoculars should pop this out. So if it's clear on the 14th, I can go out with my binoculars, I can look at Venus, and I can look for a glowing dot that's just a little bit above it, a sort of greenish blue dot that's just a little bit above it. It doesn't look like a star. You can kind of tell it's not a star. It doesn't have the twinkliness of a star. And so I'll look for that, and then I'll check myself the next night and go out and make sure that little pale blue dot is below Venus, and I'll say, yeah, that looks like that's the one I picked out that was right. Now, it's going to be moving relative to the stars, too, so you could still pick out the wrong thing, but never mind that. So if you live someplace to the east of me, or in the eastern United States, you'll have a better view of this, or if you live over in Europe, you'll have a very good view of this as it slides by, but it's going to be good. Evening of the 14th, evening of the 15th, pair of binoculars, try to find Neptune. You got a small telescope, even better. So if you have your small telescope, look for Neptune here and enjoy Neptune and Venus interacting as they slide by. Now, while we're here, we'll just go ahead and take care of what's drawn here on the board, too. I was going to do it last, but we just change as we move along, just like we're teaching a class. We have a new idea, and we go in a different direction. Many of you probably know, some of you might not know, that you can use the pointer stars. So this is the Big Dipper. And the end of the bowl, so the handle curves back down this way, and the two stars in the end of the bowl of the Big Dipper point to the North Star. And so sometimes I feel like I have to curl just a little bit right to get there. So that's Polaris, the North Star. And it's in the handle, the end star in the handle of the Little Dipper that curls back this direction. So this is a great time. I just bring this up now to say go out and find the North Star if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and you have a chance to see this. Use the pointer stars in the end of the bowl of the Big Dipper to find Polaris, our North Star. And the North Star doesn't appear to have changed position in the sky. It's really close to our rotational axis. You're looking up on a rotational axis, so as we rotate around, it's not moving. Spring, this is telling us we're headed to spring. You know, we're headed to mid-February here. The spring sky is starting to really take hold. And the Dipper, the Big Dipper for me, is circumpolar, so it's always above the horizon. But in the wintertime, in the fall and winter, it's skimming the horizon. And then as we get to spring and early summer, it's climbing high into the evening sky. So just after sunset again, so a couple hours after sunset, the Big Dipper should be pretty high up into the sky. And as the months progress here, the next couple of months, it's just going to be higher and higher in the sky as it gets dark. So this is time to start watching the Dippers in the north and appreciate how the Big Dipper rolls around the Little Dipper and telling us it's spring. Now, let's turn our attention to the morning sky. That's the evening sky. Let's look at the morning sky. On the morning of the 14th, so this is Tuesday morning before you're going to go out on Tuesday evening and look at the Venus-Neptune pairing, the moon's going to be about 40% full, and it's going to rise. So it's going to be a pretty thick crescent moon. It's going to be a nice crescent moon, but pretty thick. It's going to rise somewhere between 2 and 2:30 a.m., and it's going to be sitting right in the head of Scorpius. So Scorpius is 3 pretty bright stars here and a fainter star, and then really bright orange Antares here, and the sweep of a Scorpion's tail that comes back this direction. That's Scorpius for us. And the moon is going to be sitting right in there. There's a lot of interesting globular clusters and stuff to see there, but we're not going to look at it with a 40% full moon so close. It's going to wash that sky out just a little bit. So what I want you to do, what I'm going to do, is go out and look at the moon and appreciate it next to these bright stars. Antares is very bright, big, bright, and orange. These are bright second magnitude stars, these three. The beta star, Antares is the alpha star, Acrobgraphius is the beta star at the top of this run, and then we have delta and pi, and then a magnitude fainter is rho down here. And so I'm going to identify those stars and enjoy those stars and recognize that I think of this as a late spring, early summer sky. So by the time we get to 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, we're starting to see what we more typically associate with an evening summer sky there. And I'm going to watch the moon in there. Now pi is an interesting star. The third star down in this chain is an interesting star. This is what we call a spectroscopic binary. And so spectroscopic binary stars, they're two stars in orbit around each other, and the stars make spectra. They have line spectra. They have dark lines in the spectrum. So you see the rainbow of colors when you look through a diffraction grating or something like that. So you see the rainbow of colors from the star, but there are dark lines missing, absorption lines in the spectrum of the star. And this shows two distinct set of absorption lines, and they move relative to each other. They're Doppler shifted. So one star will be moving toward us, and the other star will be moving away from us. And you'll see the lines go blue shift, red shift, and then they'll switch. This set of lines will be blue shifted toward you and red shifted away from you. And so as the star moves toward you, you see the blue shift, and as the star moves away from you, you see the red shift. And so you see these two sets of lines dancing back and forth. And so this is a beautiful example of a spectroscopic binary. Not something you go out and observe unless you have a pretty good spectrometer, which I'm guessing spectrograph, which I'm guessing maybe you don't have, but you never know, I suppose. And you go out and look at that, and it's got about a 1.6 day period. So these stars are right on top of each other and orbiting very, very quickly. About, what's Mercury, 88 days orbit. So that gives you a sense of how quick that orbit is, how close those stars are to each other. So that's something to think about. Go out and enjoy the stars of Scorpius rising into the morning sky. 2 days later, on the morning of the 16th, the moon will have waned away to be about 20% full. A beautiful crescent moon, beautiful thin crescent moon, and it's going to be sitting behind the tail of Scorpius is Sagittarius, and we recognize the asterism of Sagittarius as a teapot. There's the body of the teapot, there's the spout of the teapot, there's the lid, there's the handle. And where the spout meets the body and the lid, right there, that's Caus Medea. And the moon is 20% full moon is going to be sitting right above Caus Medea. It's going to be sliding right by there early morning, go out 4 or 5 o'clock on the morning of the 16th. So Thursday morning, early morning of the 16th, go out and see if you can identify Caus Medea and some of these other stars as the moon slides by. Caus Borealis is this star at the top of the lid of the teapot, and there's two bright globular star clusters very nearby. M28 just up that direction and M22 over this direction. By this point, the moon at 20% full isn't throwing so much light that we can't imagine finding these bright globular star clusters. You might see them in binoculars, but if you probe this region around this star, around Caus Borealis with a small telescope, you'll see a couple of good, bright, beautiful globular star clusters up that direction. And to see if you can take a look at those if you have a small telescope and you're out early in the morning enjoying the moon going through Sagittarius. We've talked about before, and we will talk about again, that the globular star clusters live in a halo around the center of the galaxy, so we have to look toward the center of the galaxy to see them, and there's a bunch in here because the center of the galaxy is right where Sagittarius meets Scorpius up here. So that's looking right directly toward the center of the galaxy, and you see these globular star clusters. We haven't listed here, a lot of them down in this region too. I just picked those two out because they're really close to where the moon is, right there, really close to the top of the teapot, and it might be something worth going and trying to check out. So it's a good week ahead. I hope you have clear skies, and I hope you have a great week. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll have something new for you next week.